The weather and the climate of Guarulhos would probably like Sacramento. It would get really hot, but it would get hot, but it wouldn't get very cold. In the winter, it wouldn't get very cold. But when it rained hard, and it's hilly there, and so it just became a waterfall wherever their hill was, and it was not a pretty waterfall. It'd be like black water, and it was filled with trash, but it was awesome. But they would wake up, they would have their coffee and a little piece of bread and a little cheese and butter on it. They would eat that, and then they would work. And if it was raining, they probably wouldn't work because they just don't like to work in the rain. I mean, who does? But that was their excuse. Oh, it's raining, I'm not going to work today. Or, oh, it's raining, I don't think I'll go with the missionaries to church today. And so they would wake up, have their breakfast, and they would just sit outside of their shop. Say they were a barber, they would just have a little chair, sit, and talk to the person who had the shop to the next side of them. And they would just sit there and chat and wait for someone to walk up to them and say, hey, I need a haircut. Can you fix my hair? And they would just sit there and they would just gossip about their road. Because everyone on a road they're all very well connected. They all know the people. And so they would say these two guys that had a shoe shop and a mechanic right next to each other, they would sit right next to each other on their stools and unbutton their shirts. They would sit there and lean across each other, and they would say, all right, see Jose down there, he moved in about a year ago, and his house is looking pretty shabby. He needs to paint it. I bet you we could paint it for him. And they would gossip. The women were the worst. They would sit outside. They would scrub their garage floor, clean it, spray it out with the water, and then they would take their clothes, put them on the line. They don't have dryers there. They have washing machines, but they don't have drying. So they put on the clothesline, and they would talk to the other women across the street. They would call everyone daughter or son, like, oh, may I feel you? Come here. Oh, my son. Oh, my daughter. And just a very open people. And that's what they would do. They would talk, they would work, and they would just they would be active but not active at the same time. They would be doing something but doing it so passively that it would just not require that much energy. In Guarulhos, everyone in Brazil, they don't have like big business franchises, like where they would have like a sports clips, like a barber shop or anything. Everyone just starts their own barber shop. They would build the building and start their own barber shop in there. Or say they're a mechanic, they would build their own little shop and make a mechanic. They would be a shoemaker, they would build their own little thing. So it's not really a certain type, but there it's just commerce. There they would be doing their own thing, whether they worked at a factory or they would work at the airport or they had their own little shop. The lunch is the biggest meal of the day. And so the woman would wake up, she would do her cleaning, and then start making lunch. She would take the rice and beans, start cooking that, and then any kind of meat. It would either be beef, pork, fish, chicken, or a mixture of all of those, and make lunch. And then everyone basically kind of shuts down, not quite like the nap time they take in Spain or Argentina, where everyone shuts down for 2 hours a day and 3 hours a day and takes a nap. They don't do that. But everyone takes a break for lunch. So everyone eats their huge lunch, and then everything kind of slows down after that because your stomach's full, you don't really want to work. And so we would be, out in the street trying to talk to people, and they're like, oh, nope, I'm too tired. I just ate lunch. I don't really want to talk to you guys right now. But once you said, oh, we did too, we would just, what did you have for lunch? We had this. And then you would start a conversation, and they would start talking, and that would get them excited. And you would talk to them about their day, what they did, and then you try to teach for the rest of that day until about 6 or 7. And then you usually have like a dinner appointment with a member or some investigator you knew, where you would eat you have like a little soda, maybe a little sandwich, a little cookie, teach another lesson before you had to go home. And then everyone would just be in bed by 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then starts all over the next day. They walk or use the bus. And so that was my first time in my life ever using a city bus. I never had to use it before, and that was an eye-opening experience. Not saying that I was like spoiled or anything, it's just that we don't have that kind of transportation system here because usually everyone has a car. And so they use the bus, and First time using a bus, being pushed up against somebody you don't even know, face to face, in the middle of summer. You get real personal with that person. You start talking about the gospel, and they don't really want to hear it. But they use the bus. They walk, and I remember my first district meeting. We had to walk an hour and a half to get there, and I was dying. And I'm like, how do these people do it? And they do it with a huge sack of flour on their back, carrying a baby on the phone, and that's all they do is walk, and that's how they get around. But in the area I was serving in, there was this favela called Inferninho. I don't know if I can, like, Little Hell. I don't know if I can say that. But that's what it was called, and I remember being there, going down there for the first time, and it's on a steep hill, and we were walking down it, and everyone would stop what they were doing and look at us. The two white guys wearing shirts and ties with backpacks. What are they doing? Are they from the government? Are they spies? What are they doing here? And once we crossed this bridge over this river to get to this person's house, like 10 guys just surrounded us. And I'm instantly freaking out. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how to speak to these people. And he says, what are you guys doing here? What do you guys want? We're missionaries from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're missionaries. We're representatives of Christ. We wanted to teach this person, do you know if she's home? And I'm like, oh yeah, she's home. You're good. You have safe passage. And we're like, whoa, okay. And he said, after we were leaving, he says, you guys are allowed to come into our neighborhood because we can sense that there's something good about you guys, and we want that in our neighborhood. And he says, if anything is wrong, if anyone tries to mess with you, you don't go to the cops because they're not going to do anything. You come to us, okay? And so we had our friends in that little favela, and they were completely content in living in a brick house as big as this room with 10 kids. And I mean, there were holes in the bricks. There was mice running across the floor, and their couch was sagging, and that's what they lived in. And they were completely okay with that. Yes, they knew of people that had more things. They had a bigger house, but they had each other, and they had a little rice and beans in the pot, and they were okay with that. They didn't need to have great things. That's what I really realized about the people, not only of Guarulhos or of São Paulo, but in Brazil in general, that these people, they don't need material things. They would just need their family, and that was okay with them.